Man.
Welcome, everyone. This is Matrixlord212, and I'm with Scott. What's up, Scott?
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. There we go. There's my hand.
I know, we're a little differently. We're doing something this time. All right, so this is going to be the sorrow separation 7-year anniversary, May 5th. Came out 2010, so it's, right? 7 years, I believe.
Yeah.
And again, this was my first book, released 7 years ago. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a reading from my poetry book called Hatred. And this is my favorite poem of all my books. This is like one of my favorites. Okay, so here we go. Ready? Hatred is a destructive form of evil. It consumes your soul, darkens your light, blinds your sight. You will not know your direction. You will suffer from evil's infection. Hatred for one becomes hatred for two. Friends become foes. Family becomes strangers. You lose yourself in the evil and become that which you are not. Once started, you can't stop until you hurt many others you never expected. You become arrogant, conceited. You revel in your power. A lie becomes as natural as eating. The guilt will stop you from sleeping. You will have no heart. Your goodness will depart. Darkness will surround you. Emptiness will define you. Distance will be kept from you. In the end, you are alone, pushing away your family, friends. No one wants to know you. No one will ever see you. Your light is gone. You are evil personified. You are the darkness.
Wow, that is awesome.
Yes.
Get a plaque of that.
That is deep. So what started out as, it was a funny thing, but I used to work in retail for like 20 some odd years. And this place that I worked at, while I did have fun, was probably the biggest crime thing in Staten Island at the time. Never worked in a place like this where my life was basically in trouble. And I really didn't care. I was in a low point in my life where I just, probably in a depression, not caring, being challenging, chasing after people. Probably should have been like stabbed a million times. And it was like this one incident that happened there that, I should have been like, I could have got really hurt, and we got this person arrested for shoplifting and everything. And it was like, after it was over, I went in my back room, I washed my face, and I just looked at myself, and I just stared at myself. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? What am I doing here? Why am I here? I could be working in any place. Why am I putting myself in this position? Why am I being, defiant? Why am I trying, looking for someone to hurt me? It's like, why am I working in the worst possible place? Purposely. Like I knew I wanted it. It's like, am I asking for trouble? Is that bad? That, so what I did was, I started, just basically rebooting myself and start changing things about me. And I started putting everything into writing a book. I said, let me just, do what I like to do. Starbucks, I started writing. I went to here, started writing, hung out with my friends. I was just like, took some time off from work, a couple of days, just decided to do the book for like a week. And then I wound up switching jobs. I wound up going from that to becoming a manager, and someplace else, which I eventually became a district manager, which I made more money to pay for the book in the first place. So I put all my money behind this. And as I did this book, it was like the greatest joy that I actually created something that I wanted to do since I was in elementary school. And I was a little kid, and he's like, what do you want to do when you grow up? I want to write a book. And that's what I always wanted to do. I mean, it wasn't supposed to be this book. It was supposed to be my sci-fi, which I was writing since school when I was little. But I actually accomplished that. And then while I was doing this book, I wrote, it was like the floodgates opened. I had a writer's block for all these years. I found myself, and everything started flowing in my head like the Riddler that time. Like everything, like all the ideas and everything started flowing in my head. I wrote 3 books. And before this was released, I had written Tomorrow's Song and Winds of Change. And, you know, I released this book. And the funny thing was, I was going to release it at a different date. But I says, no, let me release it on the 5th. Now, I had never knew what Cinco de Mayo was. Okay?
Yeah.
And it was like the weirdest thing because I didn't know that people are going to get drunk and people like whatever. So I went to go to Staples to submit like a thing. Okay, let's release this. And I almost got like hit because this guy's like driving like crazy. I don't know if he's drunk or whatever. And I was like, all these things were happening, seemed like trying to stop me or test me to release the book, you know? Like I'm not saying positive force, I'm saying negative forces, you know? And when I released it, it's like a light switch happened and everything changed to me. It was like full circle because what happened was I had to pick up my friend. She was getting a tattoo, which when I went to pick her up, I realized that it was the exact spot where I was almost killed by the car that came at me. That it's like my life came full circle. It's like I was standing right on the spot where the guy was going the opposite of the one way that he was supposed to. And I was grateful that, thank God, the car stopped when it shouldn't have stopped. It was speeding, and this old guy. So, like, I should have been dead back then. And back then I went through crazy stuff. I lost my faith, all that stuff. And when that happened, woke me up, you know? So coming back to that spot, it was such a weird coincidence that it was just like everything, all the stuff is meant to be. I'm meant to do this. I'm meant to, like, you know, carry on. And then I went crazy. I was like trying in a positive way. I was trying to go to the bookstores and I started getting book signings and I started being, you know, pushing and wonderful people at Walden Books Borders there. They gave me signings. It was amazing. And everything started changing. I started dressing like a writer, like professional, and the blazers and the glasses. I bought the Prada glasses, and you know, I started doing all these different things, and I started working in the city for the first time in retail, and it was a big. I always wanted to work in the city itself. My dad always worked in the city, and everything with happiness was coming, but I didn't have a new girlfriend until like this happened. All this was happening after this. It was like everything was flowing in. And then that changed my life where I was super happy. And it was like, you know, it didn't, you know, it wasn't, you know, I'm not with that person now, but it was like different. It was like certain things happen to lead you to better things. Like I'm with Sharon, that's better things, you know? What I'm saying is like, everything's meant to be, but this was a thing to wake me up, to give me my confidence back, you know, to show that I'm not a loser, I'm a winner, and keep go-getter and everything. And what happened was I was having too many problems releasing Tomorrow's Song. And my mom at the time looked at it and she said, you know, if this is supposed to be like the opposite of sorrow, like why is it sad? So I wound up changing the book. Like it was crazy, but in mid-thing, I started changing the whole thing around, even though it was done. And it took too long to do. So Tomorrow's Song came out. Well, the relationship ended before the new book came out, but I had the cover at least. But, you know, and I created this character called the Tomorrow Girl with the umbrella, which she was having her own sorrow coming out of her life into meeting the man of nothing fictional character. So I got it released October 21st of 2010, which years later would turn out to be me and Sharon's anniversary, which is interesting. It's just weird, the dates and numbers and stuff. But I was happy about that book. And then I could have had Winds of Change released in December, but then something went wrong. I'm trying to remember what it was, but I wound up releasing it, I think like January 5th or January 29th or something like that. So basically it was like from May to May. I think it was like about, the first year was like about 5 books that was released, or 4 books. 4 books was released like in a year's time, you know. And when the 2 years came up, it was like 2 years and 5 days, and 10 books were released. You know, it was amazing. And then
when you're writing or trying to come up with an idea, how often do you, when you're typing, you realize, oh, geez, this idea came from because I saw this, or this happened to be derived from me going through this? How often?
Well, you know what it is? It's I listen to music, you know. I could be looking at a billboard, I could be looking at this, and it can make no sense if the board's related. It could be a color, something, and then I'm in a groove. And what I would do is I would write all night long. I would work, and then I would write till 4:30 in the morning, and then I would go into work in the morning. It's crazy. And, you know, Sorrow, it was like, these books were like heavy, writing. And I wanted to do the reverse of this for the covers. I really didn't know book-wise marketing that you should do completely different covers. But my thing was, let me do the opposite, you know, where, you know, the guy is
somewhat separated.
Now she's in the rain and he's in the sunlight, and, you know, but the problem that I realized was that people thought, you know, from a quick glance, because people don't really like pay attention to look, that it was the same book. So when they were putting it on the bookshelf, quickly, without looking at it, they put it together. Like they put this in front of this, and I'm like, oh, I made a mistake. Like the color-wise, even if they changed the color to something.
Yeah.
So I was like pissed at myself. I'm like, how? But of course, you know, when you're writing stuff and when you're marketing and you're planning stuff out, you gotta learn somehow.
There's a visual cue where they know, okay, this is this book, this is this book.
Right. I mean, you got to learn somehow. It's not like you have to know this stuff. So the next book, Winds of Change, was like leaves, and it was different colors, and it was, you know, and it was actually more just like the poetry than characters. And the first couple of books was, you know, the characters were there, but it was mostly poetry. Nowadays, when I do the book, it's about the story with poetry with the characters. It's more after book 5, when Shadow got his own book, Shadow's Reign, then started getting, Shadow appeared at the end of Lost of Ways speaking, you know, so it was like the character was speaking in poetry form. But, you know, and it was called the Sorrow series, which of course it had a good resolution, because and the whole thing was that the character was in depression for 9 years' time. You know, so he came out of it by the end. And the whole thing with the Shadow was he wanted him to stay in the depression past the 9 years, because if he did, he would technically win. It was like a weird spiritual thing, you know? So
it was like a trap almost.
So in other words, it was like it would be promised that he would be able to destroy this person if he gets him past 9 years. It didn't happen. So now it was supposed to be the opposite happens to this guy. Everything good, and the Shadow could do nothing to stop it, you know? So by the end, it was called 9 Years' Time, my 9th book. And I always said, ever since I was doing, you know, I had everything in my head when I was doing the first book and the second book. I was like, I'm going to have this amount of books, and I'm going to do that. And people thought it was crazy. 9 Years' Time was always going to be the 9th book. It was symbolic. That's what I wanted. I always wanted, like, Dark Days to be right before 9 Years' Time, because it was like, you know, right before it got better, you know. And it was just, you know, the 6th book at the time had a preview of some of the stuff for Future Factor, which is my sci-fi book. But
I was about to ask you if that.
Yeah, what happened was, I mean, I gave some character outlines and stuff, like a preview, and that was supposed to be like my 7th or 8th book, but then things happened, and I kept going on, and I did Greatness and Glory, and I did Dark Days, 9 Years' Time. And then what happened was I decided after the ending of 9 Years' Time that I wanted to spin off Tomorrow's Song. Like, I always wanted to go back and do something more with Tomorrow's Song. Like, I wanted to make it bigger or whatever and change the... So what I did was I decided to do, you know, Promised Dream, which was bright colors, and you saw the angel and you saw everything, and it was like, oh my God, that is what I always envisioned like a Tomorrow's Song to be. So this is the second book. So what I did was I created the Tomorrow's Song series, and I did Promised Dream, which came out like I got hit by the hurricane, but the book was basically done. And what happened was the book wound up getting released in December. I believe it was the second, because without communication and stuff with the publisher and disaster and all this stuff, I wasn't able to really communicate with them. So, but it did come out, you know, right after the hurricane. But the hurricane like set me back like a lot, and it wasn't where many books would pop out every year. It was like every couple of years there was going to be a book. So I did, you know, Paradise is Life and Perfect Wish I just put out, but somewhere along the lines, and I know you're getting tired, so I'm going to end soon.
No, that's all. No, keep going.
But somewhere along the lines, I'm looking at it and I'm like, well, you know what? You know how we joke around with Moffat and Doctor Who?
Yeah.
And I always say I can't stand it that he put a doctor in between 8 and 9 because it totally screws up the numbering of what doctor. Because you don't want to like, all of a sudden start calling the 10th Doctor the 11th.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, I can't stand that he did that, right? Well, you know, subconsciously I screwed up. And what happened was, you know, people, if let's just say the book became super famous, right?
Yeah.
And people looked at me like, I got to get Capriccioso's book, right? Then they'll be like, oh, how many issues of Sorrow Separation? How many, like a comic I'm thinking. How many parts, you know, how many books were there? 9 books. Okay. How many books was Tomorrow's Song? Oh, that was 9 books. Okay, so 18 books. People are like, no, not 18. And I'd be like, what are you talking about? Because Tomorrow's Song counts twice. So I'm like, but then I'm thinking, I was like, why did I do that? You know, I have a thing where Tomorrow's Song is the second book in the Sorrow series. So now it has its own series, but how could it count again? It can't count again. So on this anniversary that we're in right now, I am announcing this big surprise that because this has been on my mind, and I'm thinking like Star Wars and prequels and everything. There will be a first book in the Tomorrow's Song series, and it's not going to be Tomorrow's Song. It is going to be something different. So there's going to be a book besides doing the 5th book in the series, Point of View, which, you know, I'm already 40 pages in and I'm working on it.
Yep.
This is going to be very fun for me. I'm going to go back and I'm going to do, you know, it's almost like doing Tomorrow's Song all over again, but it's very character driven, and it's one of the characters that is going to be in the name of the title. So it's going to have, they're going to have their own book, just like the Shadow had his book in Sarah. So there will be a brand new first book in the Tomorrow's Song series. It's just going to be by name only, not as a book in there. So
that's a somewhat spinoff, in other words.
It would it's going to be basically connected to Promised Dream, where it's going to lead right into Promised Dream. Okay. I mean, you can see 9 Years' Time leads into Promised Dream, but this would be even better because it's going to explain the character more. And I'm wondering if I should say it or not.
Nah, leave it a mystery. Leave it a mystery.
But it's going to explain how these two came together more. It's going to be more detailed. It's going to be more character driven. It's going to be more and less a poetry. It's going to be like a weird thing. It's still going to be poetry, but it's going to be more story than anything. So
just remember, there's a reason why people like so many more people like the original Empire Strikes Back. Is because you did not see the creature until it came time. So if you leave leave out some stuff, people are going to want to know, okay, what is it? What is it? What is it? And then when it comes out, boom.
Right. And I promise you that I already have the cover in mind. I promise you that, you know, the person that's the main person in the first book is not the Man of Nothing, which he is in all the books. So it's going to be a real crazy, you know, roller coaster ride, because I'm going to be popping out the 5th book, but then I'm also going to be popping out the 1st book. So when it all is said and done, if there's 9 books of Tomorrow's Song, it will be a full 9 books. When there's 9 books of Sorrow, it will be just 9 books. You add them together, it's 9 and 9 is 18. I won't have any problems, because unlike Moffat, I fix my problems. Okay, so yes, there will be Tomorrow's Song series book 1. It's actually going to come out hopefully this year, after Point of View, I believe. Or maybe I'll do that first. So that is the surprise announcement for the 7-year anniversary of Sorrow Separation. There's going to be Tomorrow's Song book 1 in the series. Okay? Tomorrow's Song 1. We're going to go do a subtitle for now. Tomorrow's Song book 1. But it's actually something else. So, and again, it's going to fit very nicely. And, you know, just I got this weird thing about the titles with P words lately. I don't know what that just pops in my head. Perfect Wish and Promised Dream and Paradise is Life. And it's not going to always be P words, but there's a reason behind it, which you'll find out. And this series is extended, so it's not going to end in the 6th book, like I planned originally. And I know that a lot of people are like, you're supposed to do a Future Factor after that. You know, it's like, we're going to have to see.
It's coming, folks.
Listen, this stuff hits me, and it's like, it hits me, and I have to, if I have to change my whole business model, boom, that's what it is, you know? And you know what, to me, I don't even care. I'm not even think about sales. I want to finish what I have to finish, you know? I would like to say that when I stopped writing and everything, that I had released 20 books, you know, with, of course, 1 or 2 of them being Future Factor. But for now, we'll see what happens. So I'm on book 13.
You're close to 20 books, if you think about it.
Well, we got Lucky 13 book coming out, and we also, it's so funny. We have a 13th Doctor. I have a 13th book coming out. It's weird. But I wonder how that
this result was.
I don't know. I don't know. So that's weird. But hopefully I'll have 20 out in a fast time like I used to. We'll see. But then, you know, I don't stop there. That's you know, you have a 5-year, people have a 5-year plan.
Stops. I mean, that's just it. You cannot cork imagination.
Listen, I have a 5-year plan. People have 5-year plans. Besides the books, I want to do a screenplay. I want to do a pilot for like a TV show. I want to do all these different things. You know, I would like to host one day, do some, and you know what? Like I say from Back to the Future, quoted from Back to the Future, you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything. And from that one line in that movie, I always loved that line, and I always said, that's exactly what I'm going to do with my kids. When I do my first book, I'm going to have them there with me, and then I'm going to open up the box and say the same line, which I did. Every time I got the books, I did. And they're like, Dad, it's so corny. But yes, I said that line. If you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything. And it in the book. That's what I did. But it's a beautiful, there's a lot of characters. And it's funny, people that really don't know what it's about, they try to like mock it, they try to whatever. You know, who knew that there's time travel in these books? Like, what the hell is going on here? It's like, wow, we have villains. We have a time traveler. We have an assassin. We have an angel.
Yeah.
And it's poetry. And it's deep. And it's simple. Some books are simplistic. Some books are complex. Some books rhyme. Some books don't.
You don't need all that. So long as you get something that makes you feel good.
Yes.
While you're reading it, you care about the characters, it makes it a good book or a good show whatsoever.
See, when I did the first couple books, I did it as simple as possible for a marketing thing. And then what I wanted to do is I wanted to hit them with it. Really complex, dark stuff that people are like, ooh, that's the same person. And I did that with like Loss of Ways, like opening poem that people were like, you know, the buzzing of flies, I called it. And it was just like crazy deep. And I'm like, oh, you know, I get these ideas like, I'm going to make a whole book just so friggin' ridiculous. Maybe you won't even know what the hell's happening. You know, it's just like, you know, I'll do a happy book, a sad book, an angry book, a, you know, and
the spectrum never ceases.
Yeah, I have all these crazy ideas, and of course, like every day, I'll think about a cover that could be 5 years from now. You never know. You know, that Perfect Wish took years. And now the internet froze my podcast. Oh, you're back. Okay. Yeah, so Perfect Wish.
I saw that. I wasn't sure if it was me or you.
And you know, it's crazy, but I did a Real Who Beans cast, I think, in 2014 or an Everything Show. Was it Everything Show 2014 or both? And I was talking about Perfect Wish years ago. And you know, a lot of people are not here now, but it was just so weird that finally I got that out. Perfect Wish. I was so happy that I actually got it out last year in December. So that's it. Check out my books. And of course, I have my name, Matrixlord, on the 4th cover, which was great. And of course, I had that out before I was even doing videos as Matrixlord212. So I had about, I think 4 or 5, maybe even more out. No, I think I had, by the time I started in, when did I start doing videos? I'm trying to think. 2011 of December. Damn. I did videos. So I had, how many books did I have out? I don't remember. I don't even know. I think I have 5 books out. I think 5 books, and then I did my videos. So, all right, there you go. So check out the Smaller Song series on Facebook. I also have a page for the new #1 that's on private because I'm working out, trying to get a cover for that, and I'm going to do a whole massive marketing thing, probably in late summer or whatever. So I'm working on that. And yes, it's another Facebook page that I keep saying. Another Facebook page that I do. So, and websites and stuff. I mean, Perfect Wish has a website.
Posted the right Facebook page.
You know, it's funny. I actually had 10 websites for the 10 books at one time. And it just got so ridiculous, you know, that now I have like on a couple. But I should just have one website for all the books. But it was just crazy. I actually thought that was a great idea. I figured, oh, you know, but yeah, it makes me happy to do books. It makes me happy to do YouTube. It makes me happy to write. So I'm going to continue doing what I love to do. And I don't care if I'm 43 years old. There's no age restriction on YouTube.
No.
I'm going to do what I want to do. And some people probably will never accomplish as much as I do with certain things. And that's fine. I mean,
what they want to do
nobody measures anybody. I am happy being Matrixlord212 on YouTube. I'm happy being Joseph J. Capriccioso and doing books, you know, and that's the way it is. So there you go. And you're frozen again? Oh, this thing freezes now. So when I'm doing my bookcast, I'm doing my bookcast and this thing freezes. All right. So happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary, Joe.
Sorrow Separation, first book, 7 years. Finally. And we got a surprise announcement of Tomorrow's Song Subtitle 1, which is not really the title. That's a working title right now. Tomorrow's Song 1 is coming.
A work in progress.
Point of View, which is the 5th book in the Tomorrow's Song series. So 2 more books. Maybe this year. Maybe not. We'll see. And that's it. And I can't even, thing just froze. I mean, I can't even close this out. What is happening here?
You seem to be working just fine.
All right, here we go. Take care. Bye for now.